when I'm playing. So you got to still be that consistent voice when I'm sitting on the bench. So I try to do that as much as I can for them, and just try to be there for them, I think, has been my focus. And
we'll see what happens when she gets back in the lineup, because I still believe that the Fever have the players around Clark to thrive. They are heavily reliant on Clark.
One thing that I think works in the Fever's favor this week is that they play today, as you said. They have a scheduled off day tomorrow, and then Thursday, Friday, they have 2 days of practice. And I think if she is responding well in that stretch of practice, that could go a long way to her potentially returning on Saturday against the Liberty.
You didn't expect it. No one did. 1 second, the league was spinning with energy. Headlines written in real time, courts packed with buzz, every camera lens aimed squarely at one name, Caitlin Clark. And then, in the quiet crackle of a breaking update, it all stopped. A strained
quarter two, and we were able to regroup. Their physicality on the defensive end really affected us. It took us out of what we wanted to do and forced us to rush offensively.
Two words that shattered the rhythm. 2 words that pulled the brakes on the most electrified rookie season in modern WNBA history. You scroll your feed, a notification, then another. You think, nah, not her. But the clip plays anyway. Analysts looking stunned on live TV, fans on Reddit already spiraling into conspiracies, and the cold language of the injury report confirming what everyone feared. Caitlin's out. Just like that, the story paused. The Fever, a team built on hope and her hype, suddenly found themselves.
Well, Malika, this was a big kind of progression this week because White said that Clark is ready to start ramping back up towards game action. We did see yesterday that she participated in some, but not all of practice. That was a big step forward for her. And it's really about them picking and choosing the spots where they want her to start to get incorporated into what they're doing on the practice floor to see how she's progressing.
Exposed. No lifeline, no magic. Just a roster scrambling to find its identity without the very person it was built around. The WNBA? Well, it felt quieter. The crowd wasn't as loud. The algorithms weren't pushing highlights the same way. This wasn't just an injury. It was a narrative disruption. A pause in the Fever dream, and here's where it hurts. She didn't even collapse mid-game. No dramatic fall.
She had come on a couple visits, and she was like a big name in Iowa. So I had heard about her. I wasn't from Iowa, so I didn't know as much. And that like all Iowa attack, like AAU program is like so big, and I had I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I have no slow motion agony, just absence. As if the universe decided it was too much, too fast. As if someone whispered, "Not yet." You saw it, didn't you? That shift in tone. The way the broadcast became less certain. The way fans started asking, not just when she'd return, but why it happened in the first place. A few days ago, the WNBA felt like it was sprinting into a new era. But now? Now we're left staring at a blank screen wondering what could have been. And in that silence, you start to feel the weight of it all. Because when the face of the league disappears, you realize this isn't just a league. It's a story. And the main character just vanished mid-sentence. So you wait, not for the next
beating that this team beats the New York Liberty, even with Caitlin Clark. Like, Caitlin Clark can help this team be competitive. Caitlin Clark would help this team today. You better believe with Caitlin Clark playing, they don't lose to the Sun or the Mystics either of those times. But like, this is a team can't make free throws.
Next game. But for the next chapter, you've been told that greatness is a race, that the faster you rise, the more you prove you belong. But what if the race was rigged from the start? What if the sprint to save a league came with a price? They said, Caitlin, Clark was built for this. Every mic, every camera, every defender thrown at her like she was already an all-star. But beneath the surface, there were cracks forming. Little aches, subtle limps. You saw it. How she grabbed her leg a little too long. How she kept playing anyway. You didn't say anything. Because she didn't. And neither did they. Until now. A quad strain? That's what they're calling it. But fans aren't buying it. Reddit threads spinning with timestamps. Go back to that Liberty game. She wasn't moving right. TikTok breakdowns showing slowed down footage of her grimacing. She's been hurt, bro. They just didn't want to say it. And then the real question hits. Was she playing through pain for the league? Was she carrying more than just a team? Caitlyn wasn't just another rookie. She was the revenue, the ratings, the experiment. And the WNBA didn't exactly ease her. In back-to-back games, national TV pressure, fights for fouls she never got, trash talk from veterans, security
significantly more money while working less. There's a status called broke and a status called rich, a status called poor with a financial itch, and entitled players identify with all except one. They buy wieners at the concession stand but can't afford the bun. The entitlement is real. The entitlement in the WNBA is real. Now imagine my surprise when I find out that the latest complaint from overpaid players in the WNBA is to make significantly more money while working less.
Concerns. And now, injury. You hear it in the whispers. They used her too fast. Another victim of burnout culture. She's not Superman, she's 22. But the craziest part? She never complained, never flinched on camera, never gave them the satisfaction of seeing her break. So you tell yourself maybe she was built for this, just not like this. And now, with her on the sidelines, that word patience keeps echoing in headlines, as if it's some lesson she had to learn. But maybe it's not Caitlyn who needed to slow down. Maybe it was all of us, because when the machine runs too hot, someone always gets burned. You were watching the Indiana Fever for one reason, and you weren't alone. Millions tuned in, not for the team, but for her. The moment she stepped off the court, the spotlight didn't just dim, it turned cold. No more sellout buzz, no more highlight clips flooding your feed, no more Caitlyn Clark versus the world narrative. Without her, the Fever looked like what they truly were beneath the surface. A struggling squad, trying to find rhythm in the noise she used to drown out. You saw it, the turnover.
That was absolutely embarrassing. Lads, the Fever didn't even reach 60 points. This is the Fever. They didn't even reach 60. They didn't even reach 60 points. And if you guys agree that this is ridiculous, subscribe.
The missed assignments, the empty possessions, the awkward chemistry. Without Caitlyn, there was no gravitational pull, no player stretching defenses, no spark to rally around. Just pieces, looking for a reason to believe. And maybe that's the tragedy. She masked it all. The shaky rotations, the inconsistent coaching, the lack of depth. With her on the floor, it was easy to dream. Without her, reality sets in, and it's brutal. You scroll again, another loss. Another clip of the Fever looking lost in transition. Another tweet. This team was never ready. But here's where it gets interesting. Ari McDonald, a name that wasn't on anyone's radar, 2 weeks ago and suddenly steps up. She's flying around the court, locking in defensively, hitting big shots. It's not flashy, not viral, but it's real. And for a moment, the Fever start to resemble something almost whole. Still, let's not lie to ourselves. The league needs Clark. The fans need Clark, the Fever. Without her, they're fighting for relevance. Every game feels like it's being played in grayscale, and you can feel it, that strange hollowness. Like watching a show after your favorite character gets written off for a few episodes, you're still tuned in, but the magic's missing. Because without the star...
Easy, go down there, knock Atlanta off, come back to Indy, get ready for New York Liberty, possibly get the return of Caitlyn Clark, and we still in them winning circle. Unfortunately, that was not the case, man. The Indiana Fever went down there and laid a goose egg, bro. I mean, Lexi Hall, she's been playing great, but
the script feels incomplete. And every pass, every point, every possession just reminds you of the one person who's not there to finish the story. They called her a one-woman show, like she was a solo act dragging the Indiana Fever behind her, spotlight blinding, crowds screaming, defenders scrambling to keep up. But was it a show? Or was it a system You start pulling up the numbers. Pre-injury, Caitlin Clark was averaging 15.6 points, 6 assists, and nearly 5 boards a game as a rookie, against pros, against all-stars, against people who said she wouldn't last 2 weeks. But those are just stats on a screen. What they don't show is what changed around her. With her on the floor, the offense moved. Not always clean, not always pretty, but alive. Defenses stretched further, hedged harder. Players like Boston, Mitchell and Smith got cleaner looks because Caitlin demanded double teams in transition. That's gravity. That's presence. Without her, the Fever's offensive rating dropped, turnovers increased, spacing collapsed. Suddenly, defenders weren't sagging back. They were pressing up because there was no threat of a logo 3. No blindside dimes off pick and rolls, no chaos to exploit, and it's not just numbers, it's feeling. The ball doesn't move the same. The players look more hesitant. There's no tempo. Because Caitlin, for all her rookie mistakes, played with pace. She turned broken plays into something. She made noise. You get why people scoffed at the one-woman show label, because it undersells everyone else. But now, with her out, it's starting to look like maybe, just maybe, it was true. Not because the others aren't talented, but because she made them matter more. You feel the void in the stats, but more importantly, you feel it in the silence. Because numbers can't tell you what it's like to watch a team forget who they are without their centerpiece. They can't tell you how it feels to miss a player who made every possession feel like a moment. They can't show you the energy she took with her when she left the floor, but you saw it. And now, so does everyone else. You know how this goes. When the facts are quiet, the internet gets loud. Caitlin Clark is out with a quad strain. That's the official line. But to fans, that's just the beginning of the plot. Because when the star vanishes, the timeline doesn't mourn, it investigates. You scroll through TikTok and see it, slowed footage of her limping 2 games before the injury report dropped. "She been hurt, they just covered it up," one voiceover claims, set to ominous music. Reddit threads pulling up G League practice footage, speculating about conditioning, about overuse. One post reads, "This isn't about her quad. This is about the W in Twitter? Chaos. Y'all overworked her like she's a crash test dummy. She had 3 games in 4 days. That ain't development, that's sabotage. The WNBA's golden goose just pulled a hammy and y'all surprised? Makes sense, she wasn't smiling like usual. You laugh, but you also pause. Because behind the memes and sarcasm is something real. Fear. People aren't just mad she's hurt. They're terrified of what it means if she gets hurt. Again, Caitlin isn't just a player. She's an investment, a hope, a storyline too big to fail. But here's where the internet really goes off script. Some fans suggest the injury is a smokescreen, a calculated rest disguised as rehab. They saw the load was too much. Better to fake an injury than burn her out, one TikTok says, followed by a chart comparing her minutes to NBA rookies. And then there's the flip side. She's soft. She asked for this level of hype. College threes don't make you pro-tough. The polarization is wild. One minute she's being protected by a conspiracy, the next she's being dragged for not being indestructible. But that's the internet. It doesn't wait. It doesn't fact-check. It fills every silence with static. And in the absence of Clark's voice, no pressers, no Instagram posts, no sideline smiles, the noise only grows louder. Because when the main character disappears, the audience doesn't look away. They start writing their own script. You can feel it building. The return, the resurrection, the moment when the camera cuts to the tunnel, and there she is. Hoodie up, headphones on, that same fire in her walk like nothing ever broke. It's not just a comeback, it's a countdown. You don't need a press release to know how much the league is waiting. The WNBA is planning the broadcast. ESPN's got the lower third prepped. The social team already picked the Drake song. Because when Caitlin Clark comes back, it's not just about one player returning to the floor. It's about the eyes, the money, the myth. She's not just returning from a strained quad. She's Stepping back into the story the league can't afford to lose. There's pressure in that. You feel it. The way every possession will be scrutinized, the way every shot will trend. Will she be rusty? Will the injury change her speed, her aggression, her fearlessness? Will the Fever finally find rhythm again? Or will the story crack? Under the weight of what people want it to be, you can already see the promo. Clark is back. Slow-mo cuts, thunderous voiceover, an entire arena standing before the tip. And in that moment, everything pauses again. Not out of fear this time, but out of anticipation. Because her return isn't just a basketball game, it's a signal, a turning point. Maybe even a lifeline for the Fever, for the fans, for the WNBA. You sit with that tension, that hope, that quiet buzz before the lights go up. Because the truth is, she's never really left the spotlight. She is the spotlight. And now the league is ready to flip the switch again. You've seen players get injured before. You've seen rookies rise and fall, stars fade, teams rebuild. But this felt different, didn't it? Because this wasn't just a quad strain. This was a shift. A crack in the illusion that momentum alone could carry the WNBA to its next era. Caitlin Clark was the engine, the storyline, the heartbeat. And when she went silent, so did the rhythm of the season. But maybe that silence said something important. Maybe it reminded you how fragile hype is, how even a generational talent isn't immune to the grind. Maybe it forced the league to look inward, to realize it can't bet everything on one name, one jumper, one comeback. And yet, even now, even in her absence, the arenas still buzz. The discourse still spins. The expectations haven't dropped. They've only grown louder. Because Clark's story was never just about points or assists or triple-doubles. It was about visibility, about carrying a league on her back while barely out of college, about being the face of a movement that doesn't give you time to breathe, let alone heal. You start to realize the WNBA isn't just building a brand. It's building a mythos, one that's messy, complicated, beautifully human. And so when Caitlin walks back onto that court, she's not just picking up where she left off. She's stepping into something bigger, a legacy written in real time with every fan, every hater, every hot take helping shape the frame. So maybe this wasn't a pause. Maybe this was a prelude. And if you felt that shift, that moment the noise got quiet and the weight of expectation came crashing in, then leave it here for the next person to feel too. Comment. I saw it happen too. Your words are part of the story now. You'll feel it before you see her. That rising murmur in the crowd. That moment when all the noise condenses into one breathless second, like the entire arena is holding its lungs, waiting for something sacred. And then, there she is, stepping through the tunnel like it was always meant to be this way. You might not even notice the scoreboard. You might forget who the Fever are playing, because it won't be about the game. It'll be about the girl who limped away and walked back in like the story hadn't skipped a beat. And maybe it never did. Maybe this is how it was always written, that the league would bend, twist, and nearly break around her absence, just to remember why she matters. Maybe this chapter was less about her being gone, and more about what stayed because of her, the eyes, the questions, the chaos, the belief. You've been watching long enough to know that legends aren't just made in buzzer beaters or viral threes. They're made in quiet recoveries, in the time off camera, in the waiting. So when she steps onto that court again, when the cameras flash and the crowd erupts, it won't just be a return, it'll be a reminder of why you watched, of why you cared, of why one player can shift the weight of an entire league. And if something in you changed while you waited, if the silence said more than the noise ever could, then let that echo live beyond this moment. Comment. I saw it happen too. Because stories don't end when the clock stops. They continue in the people who remember.